Okay, folks, this time around we want to make a closure on algorithm, pseudocode, and programming techniques. So we have got a set of questions that we want to look at. These ones, I call them extra work. We're interested in writing a pseudocode to calculate the average of three numbers. So as usual, if we want to calculate an average, we should receive user input. And when we say user input, we are interested in values that come from the user for values three. We can call them A for first value, B second value, and C for third value. But then once we have received these three, we now want to calculate average. But average comes with a formula. So we are going to say as a variable, average is going to store the calculation of A plus B plus C all over 3. And what do we want here? Because we have input all these values, we can then display the result that this is our average. So we output average. I think basically that's the pseudocode to find average of three values. Then next we are interested in coming up with a flowchart to determine if the number is greater than 100. So if the received number is greater than 100, we will tell by a decision to say, is it bigger or is it less? So it means we need a comparison somewhere. So first thing first, again, we want to, because this is a flow chart, we'll start the process. So I'll put a circle there, then we say start. But when we start, we want to receive the number. So we can call this a number, which will come from the user. Then, because we are testing whether it's bigger than or less than 100, so we can say number greater than 100. So here we're saying if it's true, well, we can display that is true or correct if we want. Then finally, we terminate or stop because we are done with our comparison. Or if it happens that it's false, we can actually display that it's not bigger than 100 or the word false, that is not bigger than. So as usual, we do the oval shape to terminate or stop the process. Then moving on, we want to write a pseudocode to output all even numbers from 2 up to 20. Now, when we want even numbers from 2 to 20, we've got options here. We can perhaps do a step because a step helps us increase by a given value. So because we want to iterate, we can pick a for loop to say for I put an arrow there that I starts from 2 to 20. But because we want to output straight away, we can go to output I. Then because we don't want to print the next value, which is 3, then here we can come to say, can we step with a 2? Let me write it in red there that we want a step of 2. Then obviously we continue with iteration, next I. Then next problem, we want to define an array. Array is a collection or group of data of the same type. So this will be under one variable name. So an array is a collection of data of the same type under one variable name. E.g. scores, and I'll put square bracket to say they are running from 1 up to 10. So I'll be storing 10 values under the variable scores. Then the next problem, we are interested in writing the advantage of using an arrays instead of separate variables? Well, with the arrays, there are fewer instructions to be read, so there's no repetition there. So arrays, they reduce code repetition. In other words, you don't keep on, driving to draw lots of variables. So it reduces the repetition or creation of many variables. Because here for an array, you'll be simply having one common name for the entire list. So this one, it avoids or reduces creation of many variables, as an array has one variable name for the entire list. Right, moving on. Write pseudocode that inputs 10 scores into an array. Here we're just interested in inputting or receiving scores. So we need a for loop because we know where to start and where to end. So it's for I, you can put an arrow there that it starts from 1 to 10. We want to input 10 test scores into an array. So let's call this, we can call it scores. So can say input scores of array I. Then we go to next because we are iterating with our with our for loop. Then we go next I, we're done. Next, we want to write a pseudocode to find the smallest number within an array. So as usual, here we have to be clever in our derivation of the algorithm or pseudocode. First thing first is because we want smallest number in an array. Well, do we know the size of the array? We're not given the size. So let's just assume our array is going to store 5 elements. So we can start by saying, let the smallest number be the one that is on the first position. So that's numbers 1, because it's an array. Then we go to the for loop to say, but for I running from 2 to 5. Then what do? We want to now make a comparison to say if the number that we receive next. So we can now say if numbers I, we're saying smallest is the first number. So if numbers I is less than smallest, then it means smallest becomes numbers I. Then what do? We continue with our iteration. So here we can end if, then we go to the next value because you're still continuing. Next I. Then when we are done, we want to output or display the smallest. So we'll output smallest. The next is what is meant by selection in programming. So when we talk of selection, this is choosing between alternatives or when using decisions, e.g. when we do if-else statement. So when we are selecting, it's making a decision. So it is choosing. And this choosing, it depends on conditions. So choosing between alternatives depending on a decision to be made. So we use using if else statements. That's the ones that we use when we are making such decisions. Convert this algorithm into pseudocode. So here, when we say pseudocode, we are interested in bringing or building English-like statements. What are we interested in? We want to input temperature, but temperature is going to be a variable, so it comes in small letter form. But input is a keyword, so we start by saying input, then in small letter form, temperature. Then what do we want to do? If temperature is bigger than 30, output what? So there we have got a condition. If temperature bigger than 30, then do the following. Output in capital form, text, what else? Output who? Then we end if. I think basically that's it on our condition as we do that type of comparison. Then our last problem here, explain the difference between for and while loops. Now with a for loop, we repeat a known number of times. So for loop repeats known number of times. In other words, with a for loop, we know where to start from, where to end. But with a while loop, we continue to repeat as long as a certain condition is not broken. So with a while loop executes repeatedly as long as a condition is met. In other words, we don't know the starting or the ending point. So we repeat while a certain condition is true. As long as we are satisfying a certain condition, then we keep on executing. Once a condition is broken, then we stop the execution process. I hope you found this session interesting. Let's meet in our next discussion or the next concepts to come in. Thank you.